Hello, this is Microsoft Word Managing Text Flow, Lesson 5. The objectives for Lesson 5 is to work with setting page layout, where you can modify page setup, work with breaks, where you insert a page break, section break, or column breaks, change page setup options for a section, and to format text in multiple columns. The Layout tab contains groups of commands that control the layout of an entire document or sections of a document. Commands in the Page Setup group enable you to set margins, change the document's page orientation to either landscape, adjust the paper size, add columns, insert page and section breaks, and reference specific lines in your documents. The Paragraph group contains features that control how a paragraph breaks within a document and between pages, control the pagination in a document by preventing awkward breaks called widows and orphans. You can also keep text and lines together so that they're not on separate pages, and you can determine where page breaks will occur, and more. So when working with setting page layout and margins, having appropriate margins, page orientation, and paper size all contribute to the document's readability and appearance. Margins are the areas of white space that border the top, bottom, and sides of a document. You can change margins from Word's default size of 1 inch using commands in the Page Setup group on the Layout tab. You can choose preset options from a gallery or set custom margins in the Page Setup dialog box. In the Page Setup group, click the Margins menu and select from predefined margin settings. Settings apply to the whole document. Click the Custom Margins command to display the Page Setup dialog box, where you can specify custom margin sizes. And that's what I just said. You can click the Custom Margins command to display the page setup. So this is what your page setup dialog box look like. And you can see here where they're talking about specifying giving particular sizes for the margins. So you have your top, your left, your bottom, and your right. And you can see here it's set at 0.5, but you can change that to what you have. And the orientations that I was trying to think of was portrait and landscape. You also can, this is what it would preview. And if you're making changes in the middle of document, apply to, you can do it to the whole document or the section that you're working on. Page orientation, selecting it. A document's orientation determines what direction the text extends across the page. Orientation refers to the portrait or landscape layout positions of a document. Letter size in portrait orientation is 8.5 by 11, and the text extends across the shorter width of the document. So this is the size that you're used to seeing on a sheet of paper, okay? But you can also change it to landscape orientation. That is 11 by 8.5, so it's like you're laying it on the side, and orients the text extending across the longer portion of the page. The longer dimension of the page is commonly used for brochures, graphics, and tables. You can also choose your paper size. Word provides preset document sizes, or you can customize the paper size by clicking the More Paper Sizes command. This will be used for invitation, postcards, legal documents, or reports, because they might require different paper size. Working with breaks. Word automatically starts a new page in long documents when the text reaches the bottom of the page. At times, you may need to control where a page or section breaks. You can insert and remove manual page breaks and section breaks. A continuous break is used to create a new section on the same page as the previous section. And we will probably cannot do this in Office 365, but we will be I'll be recording the demonstration video so you can see how page breaks works and how column breaks and all of that work as well. Inserting and removing a manual page break. A page break is the location in a document where one page ends and a new page begins. Word automatically determines where the break will occur, or you can insert manual page breaks and set options for them. Page break occurs. Microsoft Word automatically insert when it determines the text has filled one complete page, allowed by your page size and the margins that you have set, line spaces, and other settings that are in your document. You can also enable the Show Hide button to view page breaks. And remember, the Show Hide button is where we can tell where a paragraph is, where a space is, where a tab with the right arrow and the dot represents the space. So that's what they're talking about when they're talking about the Show Hide button. The keyboard shortcut for inserting a manual page break is Control Enter. The Breaks menu contains options for inserting 3 types of breaks: page, column, and text wrapping. Page inserts a manual page break where one page ends and a new page begins. Column breaks inserts a manual column break where text will begin in the next column after the column break. Text wrapping, it separates the text around objects on a web page, such as caption text, from the body of the text. Inserting section breaks. A section break is used to create multiple sections in the same document. You can create different sections on the same page, each section with its own layout or formatting. A section break appears with a dotted double line labeled section break. There are 4 available options for creating section breaks in Word. You have the next page option, which inserts a section break and starts the new section on the next page. You have the continuous section break option, which inserts a section break and starts the new section on the same page. You have an even page break, which inserts a section break and starts the new section on the next even numbered page. And then the odd page inserts a section break and starts the new section on the next odd numbered page. I know we're going to do the next page and the continuous page breaks in one of our activities, which I might have to demonstrate for you. And this is some of the stuff that I'll be doing in our demonstration and showing you step by step how to insert a section break. And these are the steps that are continued, and you see here that they're using the next page section break. Widows and orphans, learning how to control those. A widow is the last line of a paragraph that appears as a single line at the top of a page. So this is an example of a widow. So you have, if you can see this line here, this space, this means this is a whole new page. So you have that last line that is on a page by itself. So that is called a widow. An orphan is the first line. Orphan is the first line of a paragraph that appears alone at the bottom of a page. So this is like a continuation of the page. So you're at the bottom of the page here, and this line is here, and then the rest of the paragraph goes on to the next page. So there's your example of an orphan. And these are the steps for turning on the widow and the orphan control. And I would just say right here, because I'm going to demonstrate this for you as well. This is you're going to find it in the paragraph dialog box launcher, and then there's a tab that is called line and page breaks. So that's where we're going to be at. So we're going to select the widow orphan control checkbox, so that if it's a widow or orphan, it'll automatically correct it for us. And the document that I'll be demonstrating for you will be called the check-in document, so you'll see how that works. Setting up columns. Columns are vertical blocks of text in which text flows from the bottom of one column to the top of the next. Newspapers, magazines, and newsletters are formatted in columns. Text formatted into columns produce shorter lines with a white space between columns. You can display multiple columns, including columns of varying widths. To divide a document into multiple columns, you will go to the Layout tab, Page Setup Group. And when you're adjusting that column formatting, you use column breaks to move text to the next column. For example, you can create a 3-column newsletter And if you end up with the first column early, to insert a picture below it, you can insert a column break. If you want to increase the words per line, you would adjust the column width. This is us formatting the column. If you want default space between the columns, you can change that to 0.5 inches, 1 inch, whatever you desire. The Apply To drop-down list option can be selected to create multiple columns and only one paragraph of text in a document. And again, I would demonstrate this for you so you'll know exactly what I'm talking about with these notes. And these are the steps to create the columns. So this is what you'll see when we get ready to work with. This is in your page layout, columns, arrow, more options. So you can see you can do 1, 2, 3 columns. You have left column, right column, and then more columns will open the dialog box that you will need to do those changes. Formatting columns. By default, the whole document is formatted as columns. Use the Columns dialog box to apply column formatting to a selected part of the document. On the Layout tab in the Page Setup group, like I just showed you, the Columns menu lists these options for formatting columns. So I told you about all of those. 1, 2, 3. You have a left and a right column, and then you have the more column options. To remove columns from a document, you will select the one option from the Columns drop-down list on the Layout tab. And then this is step by step. So when you open your columns dialog box, again, this is what you will see. And you can see here the same options that you see on the layout tab. 1, 2, 3, and then you have your left and your right columns, and you see the difference between your left and your right. This would allow you to put in the number of columns that you want, so you can put as many columns as you want. And then this is the spacing in between that we were talking about. And again, you can apply this to the whole document or the section that you're actually working on. And these are all the instructions that I just went over, and we'll go over these when I do my demonstration for you guys. Using text boxes for layout. The text box command on the Insert tab creates a pre-formatted placeholder for text in a document. You can use linked text boxes to flow text exactly where you want it to appear, as you would with a desktop publishing application such as Microsoft Publisher. You may find it useful to turn on the grid lines feature on the View tab to help with placement. To make text flow from one text box to another, use the Create Link button on the Drawing Tools Format tab. And again, I'll demonstrate this for you as well, and you'll see how the Create Link button allows you to flow from one column to the other. And this is the instructions for creating it. So you see here we have 2 columns here. Nothing is over here, but if you use the Create Link, you'll see how to move it over to the text to flow from the left text box to the right one. So it'll flow from this way. So with this, these again are the objectives that we just covered. And now we're gonna, the links that you see here are videos that explains in more detail page layout, breaks, and columns.